let's talk about Finnick. Now, maybe a few months ago, Matilda, a listener named Matilda, submitted a question for a grab bag, and her question was, is there an explanation for the strong feelings for the character of Finnick from the fans? And that got me thinking. And then when this Entertainment Weekly cover was revealed, it generated a lot of discussions about Peeta possibly being marginalized, Peeta's character being reduced in the movies, and you know, Finnick kind of taking his place in many ways. And I saw a lot of arguments about this online, and a lot of people were saying things like, you know, like why I don't understand why Finnick is on the cover. It should be Peeta. Finnick isn't even a major character. Finnick isn't important. Finnick doesn't do anything. Like, I don't, you know, why do people like Finnick so much? So I thought we should talk about that because we've never talked about this on the show, and it's I think an interesting topic. You know, Finnick is for many people, you know, he's their favorite character in the entire trilogy. He's not like one of the main characters, but he's almost universally beloved, I would say. And, you know, why is this? Adam, let's start with you because I want to start with you because a lot of people might say that, you know, everyone else here on the panel tonight is a female, and we all like cute guys. And a lot of people might say, you know, the only reason we are interested in Finnick as a character is because he is, you know, an attractive male. So as a guy who...
I'm a cute guy, but I always like to think that there's more substance there, too. You know, and it's not just that. No, but in all seriousness, that was silence. Apparently, you all don't agree with that assessment. No, but putting that aside, no, I think yes, obviously Finnick's main draw for a lot of the, especially teenage readers and girls who like to fantasize about male characters in books, he is that dreamboat guy. But as you learn throughout the series, there's a whole lot more to him. And I think that maybe the most redeeming quality about him is the fact that not only is he not a womanizer, he has this such incredible love for a girl that many people would say he shouldn't be wasting his time with on a superficial level. And it's obviously real love, and he's capable of great, genuine emotion, and it's all just an act. And he ends up being truly one of the most honorable and likable characters in the whole story, and that goes universally for anybody. And so I think the mistake that people are making is to just label him as the good-looking guy. I mean, not to make a sweeping generalization, but that's almost like what the Capitol does and what President Snow does by using him as an escort, essentially making him, prostituting him. You could call it what you want, but that's basically what it is. Because he's good looking. We see that with women all the time. It's rarer to think of that idea with men, but it's just as capable to happen. And think how many, you know, lovable, you know, women who have been used that way have been great characters in stories that have been loved by women. Why can't I, as a guy, also respect, you know, a truly wonderful character? That's how I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he is someone who has been so... He's a broken person in many ways, and he's experienced so much tragedy, but he has not let that affect who he is. You know, his character is very strong, and I think that's what appeals. Let's hear from other people. What do you guys think?
I think I
demand
summed it up. I can't follow that.
Well, I'm sorry.
I think part of what I love about Finnick is the way his character, the way your view of him changes throughout the book, which Adam touched upon, and Savanna, you touched upon it too. But it's the way that, like, when he's first introduced, he seems like your basic egotistical person that Katniss can't stand because he's completely full of himself. But then, like, in the arena, you start to be like, you start to see that he's trying to help her, and he obviously has feelings for somebody that's a secret, and you don't really know anything about it. And then as you learn more and more about him, you learn how disturbed he is and how much he's gone through and how strong he is in a way completely separate from any physical characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really eloquent way of phrasing it. And as Adam, I think, touched on, I think his love for and devotion to Annie is something that a lot of people really admire as well. I mean, he's so faithful and so loyal, and he loves her so much. And how can you not love a person who has that much love in them to give?
Well, it's not just the way he treats or has feelings for Annie. It's also when they're in the arena and we see him interacting with Mags, who's basically, his surrogate grandmother in a sense. And then when she, spoiler, oh, come on, everyone's read it already. When she dies, he just, I think at that point, his character, it's a wall comes down, because it's like he had this confidence, and then it goes, well, she's gone, his mentor's gone. So to me, I think Finnick is one of the more real characters in the book or in the series, because he does have so many layers, and we do see them being peeled back over time. And then there's what he does in the end, which is he sacrifices himself for the greater good. And I don't understand how anyone could ever say that he's not important or he doesn't do anything, because someone help me out here. He sacrificed his life for the greater good, for the country, for his family, for Katniss. That is doing something very important. So, yeah, I don't know what book those people were reading.
No, I agree. I mean, he's a main participant in the revolution. I mean, like you said, not only what he does in Mockingjay, but like the sacrifices that he makes in the arena and catching fire, in order to save PETA, which was, obviously all part of this master plan. He's, aside from just like who he is, what he does is incredibly important to the trilogy, and it boggles my mind that people don't see that. But yeah, any other comments?
I think I just love how complex he is. When I first read Finnick, I was like, who's this guy? But because you're reading it from Katniss's point of view, and then you're kind of just like, oh, okay, so I guess he's pretty cool. And then you kind of realize that he's just a victim too. But what he does, in spite of that, makes him so strong and such a beautiful character that you just can't help but love him and want to care for him and help him.
Well, yeah, I mean, but for me it was not like when he's strong. For me it was when he was weak that I felt drawn to him. I mean, I don't want to attach myself to certain scenes like I did in the first one and then not have them come out, but I really liked the scene in the hovercraft at the end when he's talking to Katniss and trying to make her feel better, and Katniss just bites back at him, and he just starts sobbing. I just thought that was so sad and so, I don't know, it just showed what the Capitol does to people even like him, Yeah,
he's still a victim.
I consider Finnick to be probably one of the most important characters because, aside, we have Haymitch as an example, but he is an example in the way that he is what Katniss could have easily become, because what happens if you're attractive, young, and a victor? And I think that is, it was designed to shock a lot of people in a way that really made you freaked out about the Capitol and how evil it can be. And the fact that this guy puts on those airs at first, and you learn what a sensitive person he is, that how he loves Annie, and the fact that through all of that he has this adorable sense of humor and just gives his life for the resolution. And because of that, I think that's what really hits people hard, is because he is a tragedy. He leaves behind a child and a wife, and the whole fandom just screams and cries for him. And that is why I would say that Finnick Odair is one of the most important characters in the Hunger Games trilogy.
That was amazing, Courtney. Let me read a couple of quick comments from some of our listeners. We should have gotten a statement from Sam Claflin about this. I can't wait. I cannot wait for the interviews with Sam. Anyway, so this is from Samantha, and she said, at first, Finnick isn't really important. When we meet him at the Quarter Quell, he's just another old victor whom Katniss judges too quickly. Soon he becomes important because he saves Peeta's life. But then in Mockingjay, he becomes vital because he is the only character that actually understands and helps Katniss through her depression. Excellent point. Okay, this is from Sarah with an H. I sort of feel like Finnick can represent the way our society views celebrities, because in reality, the victors are the Capitol's equivalent to actors, musicians, etc. In a sense, winning his games is to please the Capitol citizens in whatever way they want, sort of leaving him with very little privacy. The Capitol citizens forget that Finnick is a human being with feelings and is not meant to be bought, sold, and over-sexualized. I always thought of it as a critique on how our society seems preoccupied on who's dating who wore it best, and every detail of a celebrity's personal life, looking into things that really have nothing to do with their job. At least that's an interpretation I got out of Finnick. I'm not sure if that makes sense or was even logical. Sarah with an H, that makes absolute sense, and that is a wonderful point. And let's do a couple more. This is from Kristen. I think he's important because I really think that without him, Katniss and Peeta would not have made it out of the arena and catching fire alive. And his story, I think, really made Katniss want to help the rebellion, not just because of Peeta, but for everyone else. I think he is so loved because he is the high school quarterback. Everyone wants to date him, but will never. And he is a real great guy, too. Oh, that's cute, Kristen. And let's do one more short one. Okay, this is from Time Traveling Bunny. I can't not read a comment from someone with the name Time Traveling Bunny. And their comment is pretty long, so I'll just read a couple of snippets. The Hunger Games trilogy shows us, with many of its characters, that people are often very different from what they seem at first glance. And Finnick is perhaps the most obvious example. Through his story, we learn how awful the lives of the victors are, and that with all the luxury and fame, they're slaves as much or even more than the rest of the people in the district. Suzanne Collins also subverted gender stereotypes by having a male character in the traditionally female role of a person who is primarily viewed by the public as a sex object and who is a victim of sexual abuse / forced prostitution. Finnick's love for and devotion to mentally ill Annie is particularly moving. The Finnick-Annie relationship serves as a parallel to Katniss Peeta, and when Peeta and Annie are both prisoners and tortured in the Capitol, Finnick becomes the person who can relate to and help Katniss deal with her feelings better than anyone else. He also helped her understand her feelings for Peeta, among other things, when she learned that Annie crept up on him and that real love doesn't have to mean falling for someone as soon as you meet them. The friendship that develops between Finnick and Katniss is one of my favorite male-female fictional friendships. Sadly, there are not many close fictional friendships between straight people of the opposite sex that are entirely platonic without any romantic interest on either side. Excellent comment from Time Travelin' Bunny. If we didn't read your comment on the air, we definitely read it and loved it. And I always encourage everyone who's listening to go to our promos and just read all of the comments, because people say just the most fantastic things. And, we don't have time to read it all. So please, everyone go to our website and see all these great comments that people have left.